My name is Fran Warner, and this is Truth in Translation. This is a Bible study intended to help you as you read the book and study the book and answer some questions. I've written Truth in Translation, Accuracy and Surprising Bias of the Old Testament. And I would like to convince you by the time we're finished about some of those biases and issues about accuracy, because lots of people care about Bible accuracy. It is a supplement to a book written by Jason BeDuhn. He wrote, in Truth in Translation, Accuracy and Bias in English Translations of the New Testament. And I highly recommend that book as a prequel to what I have to say here. In today's lesson, we'd like to cover section 1 of Truth in Translation so you can use it to help as you read. Let me set the stage a bit. Lots of people care about Bible accuracy, and when that question is directed in the New Testament, it's a little simpler because the New Testament has one basic manuscript in Greek. But when you ask that question about the Old Testament, you have a different problem, because you need to also ask the question, which manuscript are you comparing your accuracy to? And the reason is that in the Old Testament, Moses wrote originally the Pentateuch, the first 5 books, in Hebrew. Then there was a Greek version that was done just before the time of Christ. It's called the Septuagint. The Septuagint has been preserved much better than the original copies of Moses' writing. And so for hundreds of years, that was the major source for Bible translations. However, the question is what Bible do you really want to study? Do you want to look back to the Hebrew roots or the Greek roots? So keep that question in mind as we go here, because you can compare accuracy on either one, and the Bible can be very accurate and yet be very Greek. As we take a look at Truth in Translation, in the preface, I also highlight a very important question that I hope to get you on board as a supporter for, and that is, English is the main language in the world today. Many people speak English or are learning to speak English, and therefore I believe we have a particular responsibility to deliver an accurate Bible translation in English, because that's the most important language in the world. We have the responsibility to deliver that product, and we're not quite doing it right now. So I'd like to get you on board. Help me with this. There is a website called Knowetall, knowetall.com, which has got a forum titled Truth in Translation. I invite you, as you hear this, think about it, write down your questions. You can ask them to me directly online there, or you can ask publishers about what they're doing. Know it all means knowing at all together. That's a typical word phrase used to describe a whole lot of people working together. The goal is, how can we get a superior Bible product, and how can you have that available to you? Now let's turn to the introduction. Truth in Translation is written with 4 sections and then a summary section talking about the publishing industry. The first section deals with the path of the Old Testament from Moses through modern English. The second one deals with, how do we find that Greek bias? How can you tell whether your Bible has got a Greek influence, and how can you see past that and find the real Hebrew? Then the next section is on the English bias. There are tremendous differences between our English language and between the original Hebrew. I was taught that biblical Hebrew was a very simple language, and therefore it needed a lot of help from translators. I'd like to prove to you before we're finished that that's simply not true. Hebrew has a small vocabulary, but it's a very specific vocabulary, and we have a lot to learn by restoring it. Section 4 deals with, what about literal accuracy? How can we measure it? Is there a way to do that? And we'll present those results. Then in Section 5, there's a challenge about where do we go from here? How do we get the best Bible product that there could possibly be? In this analysis in Truth in Translation, I've analyzed 20 Bible versions. I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm a scientist who's used to approaching things and analyzing large databases. I originally worked in a laboratory and would handle databases with millions of data points. A Bible has got about 500,000 data points, and so 20 versions. There are several million data points I've looked at. I've looked at every single Hebrew word in the Old Testament, and this analysis summarizes it all. So it gets deep into numbers a little bit, but hopefully with an explanation it won't be too difficult. While we go on this journey, I do think you'll be surprised. I think you'll be surprised at the Greek influence. I think you'll be surprised at the historical role of the King James Version. I think you might be frustrated with the trends. Why are there so many different Bible versions? Why don't we just have better ones? Why aren't they improving? And those are some of the questions that we'll be dealing with in this series. Welcome to the journey. Let's find out the truth in translation.